Yesterday class we discussed so many things regarding the basics of semiconductors and all those things, and we discussed that energy band diagram, the conduction band, valence band, concept of band gap, etc. So all those topics we discussed in the previous class. So you can just take a look all those things we discussed. The conductors, insulators, the concept of band diagram. Then based upon the band diagram we classify that what is metal, what is insulator, and what is semiconductor. Then we discussed that different categories of semiconductor, that is pure semiconductor, or that means the elemental semiconductor, germanium and silicon, and the compound semiconductor such as binary, ternary semiconductor, etc. Okay. So now coming to the next part. Now there are some classification of semiconductors. So classification is basically based upon the whether there is some impurity or some other material is mixed with the semiconductor or not. That means here we can classify semiconductor into two different categories. The first one is the pure semiconductor or intrinsic semiconductor. Okay. The intrinsic semiconductor means it is just a semiconductor. We are not going to mix anything with the semiconductor. That means suppose germanium is germanium, silicon means only silicon. We are not going to mix anything with germanium or silicon. Okay. But sometimes intentionally we mix some other materials with our basic semiconductor or maybe compound semiconductor. Intentionally we mix some materials and then the semiconductor is called impure semiconductor or extrinsic semiconductor. Yeah. So before going to the doping, again some basic comparison. So germanium and silicon, they are you know that a basic fundamental or elemental semiconductor. Okay. So earlier days, actually when the semiconductor was discovered, earlier days all semiconductor devices basically designed using germanium. Okay. Now later means the first generation semiconductors devices are basically designed using germanium. Now later when silicon was discovered, the silicon having some attractive properties, some unique properties over germanium, and nowadays almost all semiconductor devices or integrated circuits are designed using silicon. The main points are, the first one is availability. Okay, so it is widely available in nature in form of silica SiO2, but for germanium it is not available in form of any compound, or it does not have any native oxide. Germanium oxide, it is not there. Okay, so you need to extract germanium from some costly compound. Okay, and that compound is also not available in nature. So of course the cost of germanium is higher compared to silicon. The first is cost. Okay, but silicon, since its compound is available, is silica, so and it can be, the silicon can be extracted from the silica using chemical process. This is the main reason, first reason. Some other reasons are germanium having low band gap. Just remember the band gap value of germanium. So band gap value around 0.6 to 0.7 electron volt. The value of band gap for germanium is 0.6 electron volt or 0.7 electron volt. Okay, whereas for silicon it is around 1.1 electron volt. For silicon the band gap is around 1.1 electron volt. Now if I go back to our previous topic, that means the previous slides in the energy band diagram. So here this one. So we have two semiconductor, one is germanium, another one is silicon. Let you forgot this one, insulator semiconductor, this level. Assume that this one is your silicon, higher band gap, this one is your germanium, lower band gap. So in which case it is easier to transfer electrons from valence to conduction band? Is it clear, the definition? Yeah, due to the lower band gap value. Okay, and mainly due to this property, when you will design a semiconductor device using germanium, okay, so due to this temperature effect and lower band gap value, it will give you a higher value of leakage current. So leakage current, just roughly I can tell at this moment, the leakage current means it is the unwanted current component. When a semiconductor device is off, we expect that no current will flow. Okay, when a device is off, suppose your mobile phone, you are not using mobile phone, it is in a standby mode, or your laptop processor is in sleep mode, so we expect that the power consumption will be very small, okay, close to zero. But due to this leakage current, what will happen? This is the unwanted component. Due to this leakage current, that power dissipation, power consumption, loss of power takes place. And the leakage is maximum for germanium, mainly due to this region, low band gap value and higher temperature dependency. Okay, so that's why germanium is not suitable for modern IC fabrication, semiconductor industry. Okay, so people adopted this silicon due to those things. The first one is cost, second one is higher band gap value, low leakage and less temperature dependent. All are related to this point, higher value of band gap. Now, coming to the extrinsic semiconductor. The extrinsic semiconductor means the pure semiconductor plus impurity. Doping. The process is called doping. It's not pure semiconductor plus doping. The whole process is called doping. Okay. So intrinsic semiconductor plus some other material, so that is equal to extrinsic. Yes. Impurity called dopant, not doping. Okay, it is called dopant. The impurity we are going to mix, that is called dopant, not dope. Doping is the process. Okay. Now there are two types of extrinsic semiconductor. One is N type, another one is P type. So N type and P type. Now remember, if you observe any semiconductor device, there will be at least one PN junction. That means for every semiconductor device, there will be at least one PN junction. PN junction means some portion is P type and some portion is N type. And this is the common portion or junction, the PN junction. So at least one PN region will be there in semiconductor devices. Okay, so remember that. So mute your microphone if you are not asking anything. Roll number 33. Now, so how to form the N-type semiconductor? Now coming to the topic. Oh, lots of disturbances coming. Actually, I am sharing screen, so from my side, it is difficult to mute that. Yeah, fine. So now see how we can form the N-type semiconductor. That is a very basic thing. Now, what is the valency of silicon or germanium? Anyone? Can you tell? 4. That means Yes. That means at outer shell there are 4 valence electrons are present. Now, to form one n-type semiconductor, what we are doing, we are adding some impurity, some other material which is having valency of 5. Okay, such as phosphorus, arsenic, antimony. See how the n-type semiconductor is formed. We are saying that when we are going to mix that valency 5, okay, with your pure silicon, that is silicon having valency of 4 plus phosphorus, okay, in this way, then we are saying that n-type semiconductor is formed. Actually, what is the things happens here? See, so here those are the silicon. I think my writing is visible. Yeah, okay, fine. Now see, focus here. There are some things to understand. So those are silicon atoms having valency of 4. Okay. So at the outer shell there are 4 valence electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4. Similarly here it is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now see, so this valence electron makes a covalent bond with the neighboring valence electron of silicon. Okay, the outer shell. Okay, so that means it forms a covalent bond here. This forms a covalent bond. Similarly here another one, okay, valence electrons are there and it will form covalent bond. We are taking some portion. Similarly here, okay, similarly here, etc., etc. So they form the covalent bond. Okay. Now see here we are mixing a small amount of phosphorus with the silicon. Okay. So this is our phosphorus atom. It is having valency of 5. So that means the outer shell it is having 5 valence electron. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now see, out of 5 valence electron, 4 valence electron of phosphorus completes the covalent bond structure. Listen carefully. Out of 5, 4 valence electron of phosphorus complete the covalent bond structure with neighboring silicon atom. See, it completes the covalent bond structure with neighboring silicon atom. But one valence electrons, it is not inside covalent bond. Okay, it is in the outer orbit of phosphorus, but it is not inside covalent bond. It is loosely bounded at the outer orbit of a phosphorus atom. Okay, but all 4 valence electrons are inside the covalent bond, and it is difficult to make them free. That means if you want to free this electron, you need to break the covalent bond by applying some external energy, maybe thermal energy. But since this one is outside covalent bond, okay, by applying a very small amount of energy, okay, a room temperature that is sufficient, that okay, that T equal to 300 K or 298 K, this amount of thermal energy is sufficient to make this electron free from this outer orbit. The reason is it is not inside covalent bond, it is just at the outer shell. So each phosphorus atom in this structure, each phosphorus atom contribute 1 electron. So this type of structure where we are mixing phosphorus, so we are getting some excess electron. That's why the name of this type of semiconductor is N-type semiconductor. Take a look on the P-type semiconductor. Okay, this concept actually a little bit different and a little bit confusing. Okay. For P-type semiconductor, the things are same. We have a silicon and we are adding some trivalent impurity, valency 3, such as boron. See here. The boron in the outer shell, 3 valence electrons are there, 1, 2, 3. For silicon outer shell, 4 valence electrons are there, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here also 1, 2, 3, 4. Here also 1, 2, 3, 4. Then what will happen? The 3 valence electron of boron complete the 3 covalent bond structure here, here, here. Okay. Now this valence electron of silicon, what will happen? Want one extra electron here to complete the covalent bond. Okay, to complete the covalent bond. But there is no electron here to complete the covalent bond. What will happen? See, inside any crystal, means semiconductor, crystal means specially we are talking about semiconductor. Inside semiconductor, there are some crystal defects. That means I am not saying that the whole part of a semiconductor organized in this way. It's nicely organized. There may be some crystal defects and few number of electrons are available, or maybe due to temperature effect, some of the free electrons are already available inside the crystal, inside the semiconductors. Then what will happen? This vacant space, this one, is filled with another one electron. Let in here one electron is available, so this electron will come here and complete the covalent bond structure. Okay, complete the covalent bond structure. But see, the whole structure is electrically neutral, so from here one electron is borrowed. Okay, this position borrow one electron from this place, so here one vacancy will be created, one deficiency will be created. Okay, again this deficiency might be filled with some other electron, and here one deficiency will be created. Again this deficiency might be filled with the help of some other electron, and here one deficiency will be created. So in this way, a deficiency of electron is created inside a crystal lattice, and this deficiency is basically termed as hole. See, for semiconductor, so we can tell the conductivity that is denoted by sigma. You know, sigma is basically N, okay, E mu N plus P E mu P. We shall discuss those equations when we shall derive some, we shall solve some numerical. So conductivity sigma equal to N E mu N plus P E mu P, where N is the number of free carriers, here in this case electron, and in this case is a hole. Okay, E is the electronic charge, and mu is the mobility of electron, mu P is the mobility of hole. Okay, so conductivity in a semiconductor, so that is governed by electron as well as hole. Okay, Ne mu N plus me mu P. If the semiconductor is N type, so then this term will dominate and you can neglect this term. And if the semiconductor is P type, then second term will dominate and you can neglect the first term. But what about intrinsic semiconductor? So today we shall discuss only this one. Mass action law tells that under thermal equilibrium, that means when the temperature is constant at a particular temperature, the product of electron and hole concentration, in an extrinsic semiconductor is equal to the product of electron and hole concentration in intrinsic semiconductor. Okay, under thermal equilibrium at a particular temperature, constant temperature, the electron and hole concentration in extrinsic semiconductor. Suppose you have N-type semiconductor. So N-type semiconductor majorities are electrons. Okay, minorities are holes. So the number of electron increases, number of holes will fall, because the minorities are holes, majorities are electrons. So the product of electron and hole, so N into P for extrinsic semiconductor, so that is equal to product of electron and hole in an intrinsic semiconductor, Ni into Pi. For intrinsic semiconductor, the electron is Ni, hole is Pi, and they should be same for intrinsic semiconductor. Okay, so Ni equal to Pi. So Np equal to Ni into Pi, or just Np equal to Ni square. Okay, so this is called mass action law. Np equal to Ni square. Okay, where Ni is the number of electron or number of hole present in the intrinsic semiconductor. There is a separate name of this one is called intrinsic carrier concentration. Intrinsic carrier concentration.